I have personally had to deal with some very, very hard bullying situations. And I was so surprised and grateful by the strategies and processes that the school had in place to deal with this. Unfortunately, you will not be the first family to deal with this if this is happening to you, but fortunately, others have come before you and there is hope. There are methods, there are strategies that can help your child have a healthy and well-rounded experience in a safer way.
You're listening to the smartsocial.com podcast. I'm your host, Josh Ochs. Now, let's get back to the interview.
Hello, everyone. I'm Titania Jordan. I'm a mom of a freshman in high school now. I'm also the chief parent officer of Bark Technologies, and I'm also co-author of Parenting in a Tech World. So that's a little bit about me.
Titania, welcome. It's so good to have you here today. Today's topic is cyberbullying. And as you and I know, when we were kids, cell phones weren't really a thing as much. So it stayed at school if you were bullied. And this is what parents are realizing now as well. And for all the parents listening right now, for all the educators, we are honored to have Bark as one of our good friends in this industry. Bark has a phone, they have an app, they have all kinds of solutions. And we at Smart Social love Bark. Today, we're going to iterate how a conversation with the kids on top of Bark, a tool like Bark, is going to be a superpower. And so we're going to talk today a little bit about cyberbullying. We're honored to have you here today. And one of my first questions is, in your opinion, how can students support a friend who might be being bullied online?
Oh, goodness. I'm so glad you asked this because it's critical that peer support is such an important element when a child is being bullied. One of the best ways for a child to support a child who is a target of bullying is to just let them know they're not alone. Hey, I see that this is happening and I'm so sorry. If the child that is witnessing it can be brave enough and strong enough to stick up for, say, hey, that's not okay. Let's not target this negativity towards this person. Let's try to be kind to one another, be an upstander. That's amazing. If you're a child and you're worried about a friend who's the target of bullying, reaching out to their parent or caregiver or even a school counselor to say, hey, I've seen this. It's not okay. I'm not quite sure what to do about it, and let an adult handle it is a great thing to do.
Yeah, all such great tips. Now, once again, parents who are listening or watching this, bullying in our days was, hey, it's not a big deal. We get over it. We move on because we go home. We have a weekend to decompress from it. But nowadays, it's so much more than bullying. Can you give parents an idea of what some of the red flags or maybe the hidden signs that parents need to be aware of that their kids or maybe even their friends are being either bullied or there's early signs that they might be feeling uncomfortable online?
Absolutely. If you notice any changes with your child, meaning their diet, they're eating more, eating less, their sleep, sleeping more, sleeping less. Obviously, if their grades drop, if they no longer find interest in activities that they used to be really interested in, whether it's Legos, baseball, gymnastics, or a friend group, if they seem agitated, if they can't seem to be apart from their digital devices even more so than normal, or they haven't picked them up in hours or days, and that's not normal. Any change from the normal that signals something is different is something to pay attention to. Could it be bullying? Absolutely.
Now, a lot of parents are wondering, what can my student do to help their friends when they see bullying? What would some of your tips be there?
Please encourage your children whenever they see bullying to report it. There are anonymous ways to report. I know children are afraid to report it. They don't want it to come back on them. So figure out the best way to anonymously report what is happening and empower your child to do that. Also, thank them. Thank them for bringing it to your attention because it is so hard for kids to even speak up about it. If the victim speaks up about it, that's huge because a lot of times victims will suffer in silence for fear that adults will restrict their digital access or further alienate them from that group that is targeting them. Children need to lead by example. If they have the confidence and strength to say, this is not how we're going to treat people, it's actually not cool to be doing that. That's where we can start to change the trajectory of the rate at which children are being bullied.
I love that. And something you said just there that's so brilliant is saying, thank you for coming to me. That must have been difficult, but you did the right thing. And that then gets them to open up and want to come to you as well. Another thing parents are really curious about is they're often saying, Josh, at what point do I need to step in or seek professional or outside help or go to the school? to solve a bullying situation?
Every school and every situation is nuanced. Plus, every state has different cyberbullying laws. I would say empower yourself with what is the legislation in your state? What course of action do you have? How does the school respond to this in general? And don't be afraid to advocate for your child. I have personally had to deal with some very, very hard bullying situations. And I was so surprised and grateful by the strategies and processes that the school had in place to deal with this. Unfortunately, you will not be the first family to deal with this if this is happening to you, but fortunately, others have come before you and there is hope. There are methods, there are strategies that can help your child have a healthy and well-rounded experience in a safer way.
Another question that a lot of parents are asking is, what steps should we tell our kids to take if they're being bullied online? Specifically, if we see something, you've had a couple tips there, but can you dive into that a little further?
Absolutely. And this is an important proactive conversation to have with your child of like, hey, this is happening so much to children your age that let's go ahead and talk about what we should do if we encounter this, if this is happening to you or to a friend. So step 1 is to document it. Take a screenshot and make sure you have that evidence in case you need to share it or report it or surface it. So capture that evidence. It's important for preserving your own mental health to block the person who might be behind it or the people who might be behind it. So block them. Report them to the platforms. Now, not all platforms will immediately take action, but it is a step you can take and it's an important one to make sure that these platforms know that this account is behind this sort of behavior that is not acceptable. Depending on the severity and the frequency with which the bullying is happening, it's important to surface to school administration, counselors, and in some cases, law enforcement and the child's parent. You really have to take it on a case by case basis. But know that if your child is comfortable with sharing specifically who is doing what and what they are doing, you can still go to the school and say, this is happening to my child. I don't want to name who it is or what they're doing, and they will take it seriously.
We love to reiterate, schools are there for us. They're doing the best they can, and we want to go to them definitely as quickly as possible. I love that. I want to pause for just a second, remind everybody listening and watching, we're not sponsored by Bark. We like Bark, and we're here. We only get paid by school districts. And we'll tell you if we don't like something, we do believe Bark is a really important tool. And we do believe, and I know the Bark agrees with this, without a rich dialogue, there's no tool that'll save your child. So Bark plus the dialogue. Let's talk for just a sec. What does Bark do? Once again, we're not getting paid by Bark, but we want every parent to have the resources they need. Let's talk to us a little bit about your app and then your phone, if you don't mind.
Absolutely. Yeah. So Bark started in 2015 as a way to help keep kids safer online. We launched an app that would connect to children's devices, social media accounts, and email, analyze the content and context, and then send alerts to parents and caregivers if and when the children had encountered problematic content or people like bullies and other things. We then evolved over the years to develop our own safer smartphone because so many kids were getting unlocked smartphones that didn't have the right parental controls implemented on them. We were seeing a lot of issues happening through the Bark alerts. So we figured, hey, let's launch a smartphone that's just safer for kids, looks cool, has full functionality if you want it to, but is inherently safer for kids to use. We have an app, we have a smartphone. We offer our tech for free to any school in the nation. So that's important if you're struggling with how to keep your kids, safer on school issued tech and advices. Know that Bark is a free tool for you.
Now, people that are listening right now, what we just said is so important because some people have said over the last few years, I'm not going to give my student a smartphone. I'm going to start them off with a flip phone. We all know that if you show up to school on a bicycle and all your friends are driving, there's a little bit of a bullying thing. And the flip phone, while we love it, it feels like a bicycle. And some of us adults actually would love to go back to a flip phone if we could. So I want you parents to know is these tools like the Bark phone will absolutely keep social media out and the kids won't even know. Like I just can't download those apps, but I can call, I can text, and I can do other things. And my parents can monitor that. Before you get the Bark phone, also look at some of the other resources Bark has about what's the dialogue before you hand it over at Christmas. What's the dialogue you need to have with your kids to say, here's the device, here's who paid for the device, here's what happens if you don't charge the device. When mom or dad calls, you need to pick up. There's a little tiny one sheet that you create for your family. Bark has those resources, Smart Social has those resources, but I want you to find that solution somewhere.
It's a hot button issue right now, smartphones in schools. And there's a movement to just ban them from schools, which I would have fully supported before the Bark phone. But with the Bark phone, which is a fully functional smartphone, it can be a full blown smartphone. But the parent actually has the control from the parent's own phone. No matter what kind of phone they have, they open the Bark app and they can shut the phone down. They can pause it. Your kids in school, press that pause button. That phone can do nothing while they're in school, which is honestly what they should be doing, is just learn, right? Now, after school, if you want your child to be able to check Instagram for 10 minutes or do whatever, like you have that granular level of control. You also have location tracking. If you're trying to figure out who's at football and who's at band and who's at whose friend's house, you can see where your kids are in real time. It's wonderful. And I'm surprised that it didn't exist before we brought it to market a year ago.
Let me ask you this. What grade would you like people to consider for a phone like this, a device like this?
I would say if you are a parent and you're thinking about dipping your toe in the tech water for your kids, like, oh, maybe I'll get a smartwatch or maybe I'll get them a tablet or whatever. Don't waste your money. Don't waste your time. Just get them a Bark phone because of the customization that you have and the safety features. So that starts sometimes around second or third grade. Now, do I think younger kids need smartphones that aren't safe? No. So don't get your kid just any smartphone that early. Most kids are begging for a smartphone by sixth grade. So again, if you would like to let your child dive into that world, be able to text friends, call you, etc., go with the Bark phone for sixth grade. There's also a movement that I fully support called Wait Until Eighth. If you don't feel that your child needs a smartphone before eighth or ninth grade, I get it. I get it. And feel free to wait until that time. Really is on a case by case basis, and not to mention, dual household situations.
Yeah, co-parenting is huge nowadays, and it's very important. Once again, parents, I think you've heard this from us. It is a great solution. Talk to us about the Bark app. I've already got a phone. I want to put an app on my kid's existing phone. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Absolutely. Yeah. I know that a lot of parents who have already given their child, let's say, an iPhone, maybe a hand me down iPhone or a brand new iPhone, for the past year plus, a lot of parents have been struggling with the screen time bugs. Apple has owned up to the fact that there are bugs that prevent their screen time limits and filters from working. And that's maddening. I have felt that as well. And so if you would like an alternative to make sure that your screen time settings actually work, you can use the Bark app to help you limit overall time, set schedules for different times, whether it's school or not school, limit certain times on certain apps while allowing time on other apps. The Bark alert, that's really critical, can come into play with the app again on your child's either iPhone or Android phone if it's not the Bark phone. Bark is going to analyze the content and context of your child's digital signal. And that's so critical because no other app, no other smartphone, no other operating system does that. We're the only ones in this space that are going to identify cyberbullying or predators or mental health issues or eating disorder related issues and then send that to you, let you know, hey, here's what's happening. And not only here's what's happening, but here's how you can talk to your child about it.
That's absolutely amazing. A lot of parents are asking us, what questions should I, as a parent, ask my kiddos regularly to maintain a strong dialogue with them, whether it's around online bullying or just listening to what they're seeing online?
Great question. I would say reiterate the fact before you even ask them anything. Just reiterate the fact, hey, I just want you to know that I'm a safe place. Do you feel like I'm a safe place? Like, do you feel like you could tell me anything and I won't freak out? I won't just jump to punishing you or taking away your access? Really, be honest with me. So gauging what their reaction to that is interesting. On top of that, instead of asking them, have you seen cyberbullying online or any sort of specific question, maybe ask them, what is the most interesting thing that you've seen online lately? What has confused you or disturbed you lately? What made you laugh? What brought you joy? What's the funniest movie you've seen? Just any way that you can get more out of them in terms of just beyond a yes or no or a grunt or could you please leave me alone and go away is a win.
I absolutely love that. Am I a safe space? Be honest with me. That's terrific. One more thing I might throw in as well is sometimes there's aunts, uncles. There's like, hey, this other person that's in our family is a trusted person. So if you don't feel comfortable coming to me, you can talk to that person about anything, whether it's sex, drugs, bullying, or anything. So keep that in mind, parents. I really appreciate your time here today. Tell us a little bit about how we can contact Bark and what we can do there.
Absolutely. If you would like to learn more about Bark or engage with us in any way, shape, or form, really easy. Just go to bark, like a dog barks, .us, like the United States.
For all of you parents that are wondering what's my next step, really be careful before you give that child what we call a Ferrari, which is an unlocked iPhone or Android that has access to billions of people. Let's really think about before we hand those keys over to that car, having a rich dialogue. So your first step is going to be go get a media agreement, a social media agreement, a device agreement somewhere, then decide what device does my kid really need. You'll never regret getting a solution like Bark Phone where you say, you know what, I had total control and granular control and could lock down stuff. And I felt like I was a parent who was empowered with those tools. So once again, we're here to serve parents with the best tools, and Bark seems to be one of those that we really like. So Titania, thank you for your time here today. I really appreciate it. For the rest of you, you can learn more at smartsocial.com. And always remember to keep it light, bright, and polite because your kids are watching. We'll see you on the next episode. Have a great day. Thank you for listening to the smartsocial.com podcast. We invite you to join the smartsocial.com VIP program. As a very informed parent VIP member, you will learn about the dangers and benefits of social media for your kids and get tips every week to keep your family safe online and, most importantly, to teach your students how to shine online. We have over 130 detailed app guides that cover apps like TikTok, Snapchat, Instagram, and 100 plus apps you might not have heard of, but your students may have visited or downloaded. Find out more and join today at smartsocial.com/VIP. Please remember to rate, subscribe, and review so we can continue to help more parents and educators just like you. I'm your host, Josh Ochs. As always, remember to keep it light, bright, and polite. We'll see you on the next episode. Have a great day.